This podcast was recorded on December 4th, 2022. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and people outside the binary. Broken Class is back in session. I'm your discussion leader, Thomas Gradient Hura, and it's a really unique pleasure to be able to interview a band that I love. I usually do one-on-one, one-on-two interviews. This is going to be a wonderful time to get to chat with 4 members of Alamance. So I've known this band through some of the work I've done with Wow Hall lately, and I was especially happy to find that I actually work with one of the members. So Alex is a drummer.
Hey.
Yeah. Yvonne is the bassist.
Yo.
What up? Josh is the vocalist. How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Awesome. And we got Matt who shreds that 6th string. What are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Cool. I always start out the show with the same question I ask everybody. So if it ends up taking a while, I'm going to post and edit in. This is when we start talking about music. Dink, there's a timestamp right there. But the question is, what is a controversial opinion that you have about anything? I'll let anyone start.
I think $2 billion is too much money for Avatar 2.
Damn. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think anybody was waiting for the sequel that hard.
I had no idea that we had any movies that have budgets that high.
Yeah,
we don't. We
ton
don't.
of
It's
shit
like
money.
it's an astonishing thing.
That's sick.
Yeah. Have that like you're gonna talk. No, it's cool. We're trying to share one of these mics, but it'll come off good. $2 billion.
Two with a B. With a B is what I heard. I mean, I'm not in the film industry, but you know, to me, it's like 5 years too late and about
Right.
$2 billion too much.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm curious how that is like assessed, given that like
That's what
isn't
I
he
wanna
like
know.
working on it like all the time for years and like are you like
What's
but-
like? What are they going to spend it on?
I got to imagine so much of the budget is just the visual,
Yeah,
you know, like the
graphics for
graphic
sure.
design, the visual effects,
I mean,
and
it will
the
be-
design of
it's-
it and everything.
Yeah.
But it'll be good,
I mean,
hopefully.
the
maybe,
first one-
maybe not.
It'll
I mean,
look pretty.
it'll look
Yeah.
pretty. It'll look, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
I
yeah.
mean, it could like go
First
leaps
one
and
was
bounds
okay.
beyond
It was
what
alright.
we can
It's
even
alright.
possibly even imagine right now.
I just watched the first one again, so that's what had it on my mind. And I was like,
But
it's you know,
it's
it's
way
good.
too much.
It's good. It's all right.
it's a shitload of money.
$2
no
billion.
doubt.
Shitload
No
of
doubt.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
family friendly podcast. Shitload of money. No, Josh, how you doing, homie?
Good, good,
you got any
good.
opinions?
Yeah. I'll start off with the light ones. Rings of Power is better than Game of Thrones.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That's so. The Rings of Power, I understand, is the new like season of Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna be very
I
upset
think
about
everyone
that.
just tuned out.
Yeah, probably. But I'll just go further and say the Hobbit trilogy sucks. That's
You were bringing a new
garbage.
franchise, and I was going to ask you. That's fine though. Sorry, It's like the problem is I don't like to like steer these too much, but I kind of have to in my weird role here.
Yeah.
So people are going to be hearing from me a lot. And
Please steer.
so,
Yes.
are you talking about versus House of the Dragon, which is the new Game of Thrones? Okay, you're talking about.
Oh, no,
Or are you talking
no.
about against Game of Thrones as a universe in
OG.
general?
No.
Oh, yeah.
The actual Game of Thrones.
Hell
like
yeah.
seasons 1 through 8.
Yeah.
No,
you're right. My
One
girlfriend. My
through
girlfriend turned
8.
off the podcast angrily just now.
Oh my
Sorry.
lord!
There you go.
You lost.
And it's fine. I watched all
You
of
lost
all
the
of
only
season 1
guaranteed
through 8.
listener that I provide.
Shit, sorry about that, guys.
Oh, it's good.
It's fine. Look,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's
Yeah.
just like when I'm tuning into a fantasy show, I want to relax. I want to have a good time. I want to take me on a journey. I want it to be, palatable in terms of its dialogue and its story. And I feel like when I turn on even House of the Dragon, like, okay, Rings of Power, they're going on the boat, and everybody has an issue. The boat's too small. They can't fit the horses on the
alert.
boat. Okay, well, if I turn on Game of Thrones, it's like I'm going to see the queen on the bone being like a boat, and somebody's like cleaning out her like bedpan. Like, I don't need these details. Get me to the good shit.
Yeah.
I don't
Intentionally glacial pace and also overwhelming you with different characters and family
need that.
trees.
And like I don't need the shit that like is like real life. Like
It
I'm
shouldn't
in
have
the
to
fantasy
feel like
show.
I'm in a History 200
Yeah.
course
No.
to be able to enjoy a show.
Exactly.
Yvonne, do you have any feelings about this in general? Because I kind of want to get your take on
Dude,
that.
I got nothing on this.
All right,
never,
cool.
I've
So what's
never
your-
seen these. Series. I've never seen Game of Thrones. Never seen The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
Really?
I've maybe caught 1 or 2 Harry Potter movies.
Bro.
I know.
I got you.
I'm sorry.
No.
Don't worry, I got you.
I got one that'll make some people even more mad though. Here's mine.
I'm afraid to hear this one.
I'm sorry, Matt, bro, but sports fucking suck, dude. They're shit.
So any athletics just fucking in the trash.
No, I'm saying like, I mean, if you play sports, you know that's
Right.
one thing, but like this competitive like high level sports, like shit's boring. I don't know, like
Okay.
but it's more like it's more so like the hyper like dedicated fans, you know, to like that are just it's just like a cult like loyalty to like a team, and it's just like it's so weird.
I get that.
It's so
I get
bizarre
that.
to me. I don't understand. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't,
Beautiful.
You got me in the
it's
second half.
tribal,
Yeah.
and I
You got
can't
me in the
really
back
I
half.
can't
Yeah.
see myself like doing that for anything.
Taking
So it's
The
just
funny
like
thing is, with these
you know.
takes in one sentence, it's
Yeah.
controversial. You actually unpack
no,
it.
I
You're
definitely
right.
no.
All that's
it's thought
true.
out. It's a little thought out.
It's an opiate of the masses.
It's not
too.
a
Definitely.
You know, that's
for
what
sure.
we're kind of getting
So like
at. It's
you know,
like for people's whole like heartbeat to be around this thing that's a game when there's a lot of big money in it and there's real
people like gamble
issues
on
you could be just as concerned about.
Like who?
Oh
fucked
yeah,
that?
and I mean, if you really dive into it too, I mean, there's some serious issues. You know, when you think about some the CTE and some sports
Oh,
and
dude.
things that are happening.
CTE.
Yeah, that
Every
is-
freaking every week it seems like, or
Yeah.
a new owner is like out as being incredibly racist.
Oh my God.
You know,
Absolutely.
It's just like,
You know,
I mean,
that's one thing with soccer. People are always like, "Oh, soccer is so slow." They call everything. It's like, yeah, because they care about their players. You know,
Right.
they stop
Right.
everything.
right.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I could, yeah.
It's just
As a
I don't
sports
know, dude.
fan,
I mean, if you,
I could rock with you.
I'm
on that
not
a little
knocking
bit.
you if you like it. I'm just
No, I
like,
can rock
it's
with
Right,
just-
right.
I think it's more like targeted for like certain people. It's like people who like just deck out in like U of O gear, just like
Careful now.
you look like a clown. Dude.
Careful now. We got a lot of Eugene fans.
I'm
Careful.
sorry. Yeah, sorry guys.
I'm going to say there are a
I
few, there are a
graduated
few
from U
houses.
of O. I'm
yeah.
sorry, but
there are a
That's
few
the beauty
houses
of
in town
podcasts, right?
painted.
You can talk about something and people are going to find it.
it's fair.
If it gets dug up and pisses people off, it's probably even good for your band. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
You know
guys.
what I mean? So what's
I'm
Alex's
sorry.
controversial
Yeah.
take?
Controversial take. Oh man. I mean, there's not too like there's certain differences of controversy, right? I mean, a simple thing we can always go off of like modern art and film and stuff. Like, I think recently the movie Nope was a big nope for me. I thought that
my
was
God.
Hit it with a nope, huh?
Yeah,
Oh
dude.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
honestly,
I didn't mean to
wasn't
host this level of foolish controversy
Views
for
of
no
this
reason.
band are representative of all of the band.
Yeah, exactly. No, I wasn't.
So how's it feel to be on your last interview with me? This is
No, that's cool. I mean, I love the dudes that put it together and stuff, but I just think they missed the mark on it this time. It just tried too hard. It wasn't gruesome enough. It wasn't funny enough. Everything that they tried to do, like adding all these different things, like if it just even hit being scary, or if it just even hit being really funny, then it would be good. But they tried all these different avenues, and then they never hit the mark on any of them.
Jack
so it's
of
sort
all
of
trades,
like,
huh?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, to me,
Okay.
anyways, you know.
well,
But
I
can see their
thoroughly
effort.
disagree. I
can
thoroughly
see their
disagree. I'm even just like not even like wanting to consider your opinion that much because I don't care. It's like you know,
no,
it's like-
and
you
that's
know,
another thing.
as an artist, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like so much easier to talk
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Otherwise, than like create this epic like scale of an amazing.
That's because in a different take for the controversial thing. So there's like the whole like cultural like art sort of thing and modern stuff. But also, you know what? Everybody's got an opinion and they all fucking sing. They're like assholes, you know.
Don't wave the mic around too much.
Oh yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Everybody's got an asshole. Everybody's got an opinion and they all stink. And that's just my take on that. So I mean, honestly, I think we don't really need to just try to push things down everybody's throats all the time. It's kind of like keeping it within yourself sometimes and just knowing your own truth it probably gets you by a little bit better and be a little happier, you know. So
Some people might be able to relate to that sentiment on some particular thing. I don't think Nope has been forced down people's throats that much.
I'm not saying
okay,
that.
right,
is.
okay.
No, not at all.
Right,
Not that. No,
right,
not that.
Right.
I rock
and
with the movie.
And I think we probably all have a film or two that's like you feel that you should like it because everybody likes it, and the critics, the commercial success of it, and maybe you just aren't with it. Like for
Yeah.
example, for me, well, this would be a band, so we could lead into a little bit of music. I don't want to lead into music
Yeah.
on too much of a negative tone, but Mumford and Sons?
I'm with you.
I'm
I'm
with you,
100%,
man.
110% with you.
Yeah.
Like when they were really big too, like the whole time and now still, it's not like sometimes a band will be really big and I just hate out of jealousy, and then when they come down, I check it out and it's actually good. I just don't get the Mumford
Yeah.
Their
thing.
drummer just left
Yeah?
recently,
Did he?
actually. And that
The-
was
the-
based
the
off of
Cave?
a huge thing too. That
Deep cut.
he was.
Fuck, I'm sorry, dude.
No,
This
you're
shit's
good.
hard.
Yeah, exactly. I think I ended up kind of finding that out recently. Mumford and Sons drummer just left, and it was because there was a lot of people who didn't like that he had posted like a book. He had posted a book that he had read. He enjoyed it, and he said, "I really enjoyed this. Thank you, like for the person whoever wrote the book." And he got a lot of backlash from it. And then he kind of just was like, you know what, screw this. I'm out of the public eye, that sort of thing. And so I mean, for a band that's maybe a lot of people like, some people don't. I mean, they're going through some changes, so they might have some.
Do you know
new
any of
sound.
the topic of the book or
I actually
the
I
reason
can't
for
recall.
people's
I can't recall. Yeah, even
Must
really
be
what it was.
something
Yeah.
on the
So,
controversial
One of the
end.
things is like,
Yeah.
okay, we're dancing around like a topic that is referred to often as cancel culture, and cancel culture to me can be a very real thing. But for the thing is that like one like political party, for example, and I don't know your guys' politics genuinely at all, has tried to weaponize it a little more than the other one. In terms of like, I would say the right wing is like, oh, they're trying to cancel us for everything, but everyone uses it. Like it happens like in many different scenarios. I feel like
absolutely.
like people on the left, people on the right, like for reasons like often it's just like being accountable for having done something genuinely really shitty and not being like making a good apology or caring at all about the fact you did harm. But it also like it can be just really frivolous.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you the question then, because one of my instead of like the light controversy, I was going to bring up another one, and
Sure.
I think it kind of gets to this: is if everybody were to wake up more with, let's say, what I would very generally term as like a Buddhist frame of mind, what is the role of placing blame at somebody's feet, like or a retribution type of behavior towards somebody, like? I think like if everybody could wake up and think like very clearly that, you know, I want what's best for this person who did wrong. You know,
I like
I
that.
want to improve
Compassion.
their lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you're
Compassion.
saying like, would that action even be like
what is the role for us to
would it
like
be a tool like it is right now in this society?
Right, right. So,
Used
like,
by
we-
To
any
see
anybody or any
ourselves
side.
is that
Right.
as being a mirror to ourselves in
Yeah.
a larger picture and
So,
and,
like-
and really, you know, like we don't like really understand like human nature and you know to its
yeah, and
fullest.
like
Yeah.
then you have free will and all these
the
questions
whole
is like
reality thing of it. I mean, I had this is probably like something that doesn't have too much backing, but that there's actually a certain percentage of people that don't have an internal dialogue too. Even like I mean that like it's if they're told to do something, they will feel like a little frustration of something if they don't want to, but they don't have to. They don't go through like, oh damn it, like why do I got to do this? I just did this, whatever, you know, like all this sort of thing, like this internal dialogue.
yeah.
But apparently, there's like a good percentage of humans that don't have that, and I don't know. As somebody who
and-
constantly is like going through my own thoughts, and near every moment, like I don't even know how that's even possible. It's
And like to the point you were bringing up there is like, you know, it doesn't seem to be a tactic of any. It seems to just be a tool in the tool belt now.
Right.
You know, it seems to be a way that people are able to hurt somebody. It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
And it's
that
like-
is an outlet that we have. You know, we can't
Yeah.
physically reach out, or there's laws that keep people from doing this or that to somebody. But you know, if you want retribution against somebody, you know, just or unjust, that's
Right.
a good way to go about it these days. You know,
Yeah.
you can get a lot of eyes and ears.
We were told the internet. Here's a way to bring it into your guys' band too. I have a segue in my mind. We were told that the internet would open us up to these vast amounts of information that would allow us to substantiate and corroborate and do research well. I see
Absolutely.
Yvonne smiling, right? Like it allows for the promulgation of huge amounts of disinformation and like backing of the most bullshit opinions you have. Talk about that, Yvonne.
I mean, I don't know, it's-
Yeah.
I think you can find anything like supports
Right.
whatever the fuck you want to believe in. I guess. I don't know.
Exactly.
But I guess I don't know, dude. It's
Well-
kind of frustrating. It's kind of weird that like I don't know.
It is. And so, but the thing is, to Matt's point, it's like we should be able to look at them as a case-by-case scenario and understand, like, oh, is that, like, kind of look at the details. Don't just go off, oh, it flags this hot issue, and so I automatically have my opinion because I am pro this or I am anti that, means
Right.
I'm pro that scenario.
Right,
Ideally, we would be able to look in and really understand, like, where's the evidence? What could be the motivations of people at hand?
Absolutely. What's the
Yeah.
character of
Right.
the person saying the things, the
Yeah.
context of whatever. Again, I'm not taking
Right.
sides one way or the other, but it is good to just, the availability of information with the
Yeah.
internet
Right.
is, it's Spider-Man, man. Great power, great responsibility.
Right.
With all that information out there, it's like you kind of have a responsibility to do your due diligence if you're going to be, going to the country or the community square and stringing somebody up.
Right.
Right.
You got to do some due
Yeah.
diligence because it's pretty easy to pull that trigger on somebody,
Yeah.
So I think,
And kind of going on the cancel culture too, like what we were kind of talking about earlier. I think we touched on it a little bit. It was like this split with in shows and art between like maybe like what is objectively good and what is subjectively good. What you like as a person versus like what is actually good art. And I think, when we talk about music, that's really, really, really freaking hard to figure out. But when we talk about like shows, maybe there's a little easier to do that there. But, like finding a way to like make that distinction for let's say somebody who, has gotten canceled or has done something bad, viewing the art separate from the person in some type of objective sense is like a good tool to be able to say like, okay, we don't like them. We don't like what they did. And yet at the same time, what they made is still good stuff or what they, like.
I can
holds
think
value.
of people in communities of color that have produced work that was just so important for that community. You learn later that person's a shitbag.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, what do we do entirely with the
Exactly.
entirety of the legacy of that art and how that art is then received for those communities? And sometimes I feel like, for me, like if it's happening in the black community, for example, I do not feel like I really should be telling them what to do.
Right.
So like if
Right.
I make say like I will never listen to R. Kelly again, and I will probably try really hard never listen to Ye again, for example,
Right.
that does not mean that I would tell a person what to do in their own community. Anyway, I kind of almost don't want to talk too much about issues that like a bunch of bros are like around the same age or like, you know what I mean? Like being other people with a podcast talking about all those kinds of like, here's my take on racial justice, right? But
Right.
as an Asian American, a half Japanese person, it is often like, I don't know the liminal space of like, I can speak to this kind of broadly, but I also have some white privilege. Anyway,
Fair enough.
let's get into music, because the segue I was thinking about was just about trying to promote music in a world of constant noise on the internet. But we should establish the foundation of like, this band fucking rules. That's like establish the musical tenor of this band, because can I play like a clip from your guys' music?
course.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put
I
in
mean-
a song right now, like a little bit of that.
Sweet.
You heard some of that. Don't know what song that was, but wasn't that fucking cool? These guys are very, very talented. And so when you are making music, what's the writing process been like for you recently? Because it's been a long history as a band of sort of different styles and embracing different styles as long as there's heart in the music.
Yeah. It has been a long process, and I think like the process that we're at right now is definitely a collaborative one. It's always seems to be that someone brings, I would say 35 to 50 to 60% of the song, and the rest is collaboration, getting it to the end. So yeah, like Singularity, our most recent one, Matt had the music.
That's the one we just played. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
That's the one that goes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it.
I'd be impressed,
I know
dude.
how it goes,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to just try to sing it when you're right
Fair
here.
Put in a clip of him singing right here.
Yeah. So that was like
Yeah, for instance,
Matt
like that
music.
song, that was a demo that I had recorded on my computer to just test out some plugins and stuff just on my own that Josh overheard one day while I was
Yeah.
hanging out, and he was like, "Oh, what's that?
Well, we can do
What's
something with that."
Yeah, that's something.
And like it really wasn't going to go anywhere.
No,
that
it
song
was just
like a
doomed to die on my
Yep.
hard drive as just a test track
Yeah.
of some stuff. But what I didn't hear in it, these other guys are able to hear stuff in the tunes and really bring different elements to it that again I would never think of at all.
With that song Singularity, when I mentioned, I have seen you guys live at the Wow Hall, but my involvement there has been as a volunteer, which means that I'm not able to be in the main hall a lot of the time. And so that was a show you guys were on with Hyper Sloth and 3 other bands.
Yep.
Fest? Someone? Ray Fest?
Crest Fest.
Crest Fest.
Sorry,
Oh no,
Best
that was
Fest.
Best
Best Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fundraiser for someone named Best.
think
So
it's
look that up
pretty
if you
right.
wanted more information about that. Obviously, I don't know shit. But so I came into the hall while you guys were playing that song. And that
nice.
was when I really, because I'd heard most of your set, but I actually got to see you perform that live. So I really came to like that song. And when I listened to the studio version later, I could tell it was the song, right? But it had additional vocals. Like it had a lot of cool shit that didn't when you're a band, there's the live version of the song and then there's the studio version of the song. And they were both beautiful.
I appreciate that.
thanks,
Thank you.
man.
Thanks.
Tell me about those harsh vocals that were those
Yeah.
screamed vocals.
That was actually all part of the collaboration. Like at the point that we brought it to the band, it was literally the most chilled out bridge you can possibly imagine. Like there was not much there at all. And everyone was like, we need to do something with this.
Every time we played it at practice or something, it was just like, this doesn't feel right.
And we even played it out. I think the one that you saw that you're
Yeah,
talking about,
yeah.
it had that bridge that was not finished and is not what we actually have on the record.
Felt too tame.
Yeah.
It's always good to be able to keep things fresh when you're performing things too, and make changes.
The more you play with it, I mean, the more you listen, the more creativity and sort of ideas you can have. And when you really go through material and are like writing parts, and you're kind of really seeing where the song goes energetically, that's when you can make some outside decisions on it as a whole. And everybody was on the same page too. It's really cool when everybody's like, yeah, we're all kind of like, okay, something's going on right there. Let's open it up a little bit. And then that's what
absolutely.
we were able to do.
We
it was an evolution. for sure.
jammed through the really calm bridge into like that epic part where it like really gets big. And then we had that and we were like, all right, we need this breakdown. And that breakdown was like just like sitting around like messing with kick drums on friggin' Cubase, just like punching in hits, hitting it with the guitar. I had like done it all on opens, and then I sent it to Matt, and he was like, here's some cool shit we could put on top of that. So it's like the rhythmic part of the opens. I don't know how many people are going to be interested in this, but like
It is a little inside baseball,
Yeah,
but like I had taken his rhythm and I was like, oh well, that's a great rhythm right there. What if we did some of these melodic chords over that to kind of bring it in from.
so it's not just like Meshuggah.
Right.
Like chugs.
Kind of bring a little bit of our personality in there, and once we brought it to the guys and heard their additions into there, it was just, it's funny. So some of the songs recently, we've been writing them almost on stage a little bit. We're kind of playing them on stage before they're truly finished in the composition phase.
That's
to the
great.
point where
Yeah.
it's almost like a stand-up comedian. We're almost like kind of seeing
Working out
people's
your act.
working it out, seeing how
we
people react to
improvise.
it. Seeing that people weren't really feeling the bridge, so that kind of
Yeah.
helped solidify in us. Like, I think that does need to change a little bit.
I think that sort of is one of those things that kind of separates us from like maybe a lot of modern metal bands too. Is like we really do improvise in
That's a great point.
various ways that I think maybe not a lot of guys really out there are doing. We will kind of really find different voicings and patterns, rhythmic patterns, as I'm playing a set. I originally really started playing a lot of jazz when I was younger, and so I play like that. I know that Yvonne does too, and we kind of feed off of that. And so when we're writing material, it's so much easier for us to like piece together these things because we're kind of bursting with like ideas on it. So taking it to new material, each song is really kind of livened up.
Love to hear from each of you briefly a couple of your influences, whether it be in this band or just as a personal listener of music. Just like 1 to 3 artists from each of you real quick.
Wants to go first.
Matt first. Matt's pretty good at talking.
No dead
This is a
air.
tough
No
one
For
dead
me,
air.
okay,
I have
I really
a lot
like
of-
Nas. Nas
Oh,
inspires me a
man.
lot, but because I'm a
Illmatic.
hip hop artist.
Yeah.
But Weezer is a big influence for me when I'm
Nice.
doing rock stuff.
Yeah, for me, honestly, the reason I have paused there is only
Lightning round. Just say the artist's fucking
lightning
name.
round.
Sorry.
We're gonna go with big influences. Were like Devil Wears Prada. I take a lot of influence from rap artists. Actually, honestly, I mean, if you look at my Spotify wrap up, it's mostly rap artists. So I mean.
I relate. I snapped at you, but it's hard to like sum up your
Yeah,
musical
yeah,
taste
yeah, I mean,
and spit out the
'cause
name of a
yeah,
person
a lot
or a
of it
band.
doesn't come from
It's
where
not-
listening to our music you wouldn't expect
Yeah.
where a lot of my musical taste lies, but like a lot of it is like a lot of DJ Premier tracks, honestly.
Hell yeah.
dude, a lot of
Hell yeah.
yeah, honestly, a lot of classic rap.
DJ Premier was in Gangstar. He pioneered East Coast hip hop production, and he's always kept hip hop fresh. And he's always made music that was old school sounding but updated.
Absolutely.
That's the analogy for you guys in rock, honestly.
Right.
You guys
Yeah.
have taken. There's like bluesy stuff that you guys have done in your past, and
Yep.
maybe that informs your work now. I'm talking about the 2012 album.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys embrace like so much of what is current in a world where I think a lot of bands are just trying to figure out like how to stay relevant,
Right.
And because they come from an old kind of like sound and style, and I
Yeah.
only record analog. No offense,
Right.
Foo Fighters, do your
Yeah.
thing, but like that's
Move on, bro.
that's gonna continue to age. So
For
like
sure.
you guys are just
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
a different world.
And just to wrap
Thanks,
up
man.
my answer on that is like when you hear some of those electronic influences, and if you listen in deep on some of our songs, I mean, you'll hear 808s going and stuff like that. And a lot of that coming into our songs is, recently we have been focusing more on like what do we want to hear, as musicians. And I think as we do that, all of our influences are starting to bleed more and more into that. So
Yeah.
you're hearing more of that stuff from my side at least.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's killer.
I would
Does
go-
anybody else want to talk about individual influences?
Right off of that, like for me, it'd probably be Bill Murray. I don't know if you
Hell
know.
yeah.
You know Bill Murray?
Oh, I know the comedian.
Oh no, we're talking to artists.
Hell
All
yeah.
right, all right.
Bill Murray,
Murray is an
absolutely
artist,
amazing artist. Poppy, you know Poppies?
Oh yeah,
Another
yeah,
artist?
Poppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then probably
Kind of like the videos with Poppy. There's like it's like a Avatar idol kind of like pop star
yeah,
Yeah.
aesthetic
She's
where it's,
really
it's
visual.
something where it's
Amazing.
more than just the music.
absolutely
People
more than the
want
music.
to
Yep.
be engaging with, interacting with,
a
immersed in a
story.
world that is way more than just
That's
an
me,
album.
man. Like,
because who's
I-
buying just a CD?
Exactly. I want to like artist like doing music for me, and it comes through in a lot like lyrically. I think is escapism. It's part of this like my like love for fantasy, my love for video games, like all that shit it's all part of the same thing, which is like just telling a story, something that's like weird and different and out there. And that's why I think Bill Murray, Poppy, although completely separate genres, and then like I don't know, something very heavy like Lorna Shore or something like that, like all get that from me. They
Cool.
take me to a different place because
Between the
they're
Buried and
so different. Between the Buried and Me, like
Oh, yeah.
you're just listening and going along, and then it's like what did they just do? Like that makes
Yeah.
no sense. Why would they do that like that? And that's just pushing the boundaries. I love that shit. Yeah.
I don't know, when you said what did they just do, I thought of, for some reason, Red Hot Chili Peppers 1989 Mother's Milk track 1 Good Time Boys. Does anyone know it?
No.
They just like had a bridge. I don't know if they just didn't want to like make a bridge. They just cut in 3 little clips, almost like you turned a radio dial, from other songs and just like sampled
Dude,
other songs
awesome.
for like
Like,
4 seconds at a time.
I love
and then
that.
came back to like the post chorus and came back to the third
Yes.
verse.
Right.
And it was just like you
I
do
love
not
it.
see that coming.
The risk, you know,
Yes.
take
Like,
the risk. It
I mean,
pays off for me at least.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll hear sound samples and clips and speeches and stuff in our every one of our songs. They're somewhere in there. You know, like all that MF Doom kind of style, like back in
Yeah.
the day. You know, storytelling in the background, and if you see our set now live, I mean, there's interludes and so cherishing all that is great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We can continue on.
Yeah, in the rock category, I really like I don't know, just Muse. I like Radiohead. Led Zeppelin's huge.
Awesome.
But I've also got like
Amazing bands.
Yes.
yeah. No, so
Good choices.
I have also like a jazz background, you know, through college, a theory sort of background, and classical stuff. So
Right.
any of sort of more complicated harmonies or anything like that, you know, is something I'd look to or incorporate. At least
He's
definitely,
trying to
like,
say he's a
Muse.
fan of animals as leaders.
A little bit, yeah. So just like I mean, but to the like
And then he's nice on the
improvisational
guitar.
sort of-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard of animals as leaders.
Really?
But the bands I have heard of, Muse, Radiohead, Led Zeppelin, all have amazing bass. Amazing bass
Oh,
work.
yeah.
John Paul Jones freaking probably inspired
Yeah, I
half
think-
of the famous bassists alive
right.
today.
And then any of like the Motown stuff is really fun.
Oh,
Just bass wise, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean
Or-
those classic like bass
Yeah.
lines.
There's
Those are
nothing like
fun.
what Motown
Yeah.
was making in the 50s and 60s.
Some influences. Heavily as a drummer, as a metal drummer, there's a guy named Brandon Morgan from Misery Signals. He's one of I mean, that band is definitely like top for me. That's a huge influence.
Underrated.
Very underrated band. They're actually making a huge comeback these days. They've got their old lead singer back, Jesse. And but you know, beyond that, beyond metal, I like a lot of like electronic jam bands. I like Lotus, like STS9, and like Umphreys. I got like a big jam band. Like
You're talking about Lotus, right? Not Flying Lotus?
I like Flying Lotus though
Right.
too. I
Yeah.
have Cosmogramma on vinyl, the vinyl Me Please pressing.
Cool.
Yeah,
I have one vinyl, me please. I have Weezer's Pinkerton on vinyl.
No,
me
really?
please.
Yeah.
Good album.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I've got what else? Oh, I've got Queen's Night at the Opera as well for vinyl Me Please.
For people who don't know,
they're
it's like
doing
a
great
monthly. You get a special pressing of a classic kind of album every year on vinyl.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good.
But it's
setup.
pricey. It's like
Yeah.
you know, if you can do that, if you can spend the money on it, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't known that you guys are putting out singles pretty regularly. They always sound great. Like they always.
thank you.
I've
Thanks.
never heard a song by you guys where I, as someone who's pretty attentive to mixing, mastering, and things like that. Not that I'm good at it, but because I am an attentive listener,
Yeah.
right? I've never heard a flaw in you guys' music. So to me, there's a commitment to quality. It's not like you're putting out an album every single year, like some bands and artists, but you're putting out great stuff when you do. I want to talk about any planned projects for the upcoming 2023, what you got going on, and you know, you continue to play live shows, I assume, and blah blah blah. It seems like Yvonne.
No, I mean,
Okay.
we've got. I don't know how much we want to talk about this.
Yeah,
Next
no,
track?
no,
I don't
yeah,
know.
go for
We've
it,
got
man. We're good. No agents.
right. Yeah. New track, fully recorded. As far as we're about to send it off. Actually.
Yeah. New song being sent off for a final mix and master tonight.
Yeah. So that was a fun process. Well, I'm sure Matt
Phenomenal.
could speak more on that. I've got.
What letter does it start with?
The name of the song.
Yeah, the song.
You could just
Go
You don't have to tell me
we
the
can
name.
tell you.
Monarch,
We were even
baby.
playing it at shows.
Let's
It's
drop it here, the exclusive.
called Monarch.
Monarch.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Coming soon.
I like that.
Yeah. I think the goal is to try to come out with a single every 3 months, maximum time. This one's probably going to be like 2 months because we've just been hossing it, which is great. And everybody's
great.
been doing an awesome job. Playing shows. I think we're trying to get a show, 3 shows a month. So one weekend off where we can just focus on writing new stuff, but otherwise a show every weekend. We did our first show recently where we actually had a full 41-minute music video type thing playing in the background.
That was cool.
John Henry's the
visuals
projected
and
visuals, yeah.
Storylines.
The venue happened to have that capability, but we are gonna develop our own capability so we can take that wherever we want.
Super cool.
Yeah. I think that adds a lot to the
Yeah,
show.
it like you were saying earlier with Poppy, it's like we're just trying to find ways to up the live experience. You know, we have backtracks already pumping in any kind of synths or whatever we can. Now we have the visuals that Josh created in a Blender and all that kind of playing throughout our set, synchronized to our set, to our music when it happens. And just finding ways to keep people's attention and make people come out to shows, you know, and support music and stuff, and give them a reason to beyond, you know, just music.
Yeah. Like you said, that story, that experience.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for this year.
Yeah, and I mean, we've worked with an animator out of the Czech Republic, I believe. His name is Jaromir, with Eclipser Art for the past couple of releases. And we really want to work with artists really around the world, visual artists, you name it. I mean, you know, other musicians, and sort of collaborate with people and work with people. And we've had that series for Ethereal and for Singularity, and now we're kind of branching out. So we're going to have a different visual aspect for the next couple of releases. And you know, that whole animation thing bled into our live set now, so we can actually use it in our live set, which has been phenomenal. So it's just always growing, you know. It's always just turning the leaf over, turning the page over, just continuing the story, you know.
Yeah, that's another good point. Is we're trying to do a lot of collaborations this year between but right before you showed up, Josh and I were out in the car talking about. We have three songs that we're trying to piece together into some kind of artistic release. Not necessarily like, hey, here's an album or an EP, but kind of just like sneakily to the side, like some kind of small 3-song art project where we bring in, you know, like a rapper on one for a feature, a female singer on another one. And, you know, I think between all art forms collaborating, we seem to it just seems to raise all ships. You know, the tide raises all ships.
Right.
You know.
Well, I feel like I want to ask you guys about one of the hardest things about being in a band, but really it's one of the most difficult things about being successful in the band. I, as an artist myself in hip hop, I get to determine success completely on just my own singular terms because I'm not in a band. I get to say, I'm going to put out this song this month. No, I'll put it out in 3 months. No, I'll put out, I didn't think I was going to release anything this month. I'll put out an EP this month. I can do whatever I want. And we have an idea of what success might be, but I just feel it in a 4-piece, people tend to have to be on the same page pretty well. And I feel like that would be a challenge. So I guess I've kind of just split my question into like 3 different topics.
No, I got
success and what's hard, but like what's hard about
compromise, communication.
I feel like it's only has been beneficial working with people and collaborating, and really, to be honest, because like I moved to Eugene and started my own business here, a drum business, and wanted to like write my own music and be like somebody who's doing my own thing and kind of working, you know, solo. And hip hop artists mostly will do that, and that's kind of the part of the game. But as a musician, if you're playing guitar and drums and all that other stuff, it's too much. And when I came across these guys, it's just only exponentially just elevated everything. Like all of the work that I would have had to do, you know, just building something, like building a house from scratch. It's great that you get to do that and you get to look back and be like, holy shit, that's what I did. But when you have everybody else building that house together, then you don't have to sleep outside until the house is built. Whatever, you know, we can just get it done, and then we can just, you know, start the fireplace, you know, let it burn, you know, keep it going. And that's what I think. I think it's only been beneficial. Yeah, it's hard to sometimes communicate certain things and visions. Like if you know, everybody's got a different mind. It'd be great, obviously, if we were all to be able to like plug into each other's minds and know exactly what we're envisioning for certain things. You know, visual aspects. Yeah, exactly.
Get back on Neuralink, buddy.
So like there is some sort of like
barrier
running
too many companies.
between what you're thinking and visualizing in your mind, and then trying to kind of convey that. So that can be a little hard, but we all kind of will find something.
I think like we like really have a sense of what our goals are, and like I would definitely make a distinction between like a feeling of success and a feeling of attaining the goal. And that's the most important. Like for me, it's like I need to remind myself that like success is the process of doing this thing. That's awesome. Like we do that, and that is amazing. Whether we hit the goal or not, like that's awesome. But like having the goal and getting to that goal is an objective measure. We can test whether we did that this month, whether we didn't do that, whether we need to do more. And it's like having 4 of us makes the possibility of hitting those goals just 4 times as likely, I think, you know, because it's just way too much for one person to do. So, so it's extremely helpful, I think, in that sense that we all have the same goals, you know.
As far like then for me, I'm doing all my own promo, video editing, and photography, captioning my shit. Sometimes videos, just like social posts on 4 platforms. It's like they say it's a full-time job, but like if you're really doing it, it could be like more than a full-time job.
Yeah,
you know,
it's 5 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
How does that get delineated? Is it pretty harmonious? Is it pretty? You guys have a pretty good system for all those things.
We
ups
seem,
and downs. Like
we seem to all have our own strengths, you know, that we kind of can lean into a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes somebody is really on fire with doing one thing, and then, you know, they get busy and somebody else picks up the slack and they start doing it a lot. And, you know, I think a big thing that we've really focused on and had a lot of good, like we've done a good job is just growing the Instagram, you know, and being on top of social media, posting every, you know, day and just trying to stay on that. And that is because everybody's been doing that together.
Yeah, I think it all truly boils down to just truly communication. You know, if you can be open with each other, and you know, if you're going through something, you know, and you let people know, it's like, yeah, take your time. I'll cover the slack. You're good. Take a beat, you know, and we'll hop in there. We're it's like a team, you know. So, I think we got lucky. Definitely with the guys that we got, because you know we all get along. We all seem to generally agree on most tasks, most goals. You know, nobody's looking for the glory themselves. You know, Josh and I've been working together for, I mean, over a decade.
Don't even say it.
Over a decade. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. I have to break out pen and paper.
It's too much.
For people who don't know, you guys from New Jersey met together and created Alamance, and then at some point between 2012 and 2019, moved to the West Coast, right?
Actually, it was 2013.
It was 2013.
Yeah, and we had been playing since 2007. So, like, high school, when we were both, like, 17.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been too long.
I mean,
to
ego
think,
has no place
years.
here, you know, unless it's a group ego, you know, it's the band ego, you know, like
Let go of my ego. So you got these guys from the West Coast.
Yeah,
pluck them up. What was that like?
Yeah, so when we landed in 2013, we were like pretty underground. We came out with an album actually in 2018 or 2019. It's called Exile.
Exile. It's all on YouTube.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube, and it basically is Exile. Like, it is the time where we were like not really doing shows, not really writing. We were writing a ton, like a good amount, like 2015, but there was just a very long period where we weren't like actively doing band stuff.
We were
Alamance
just
was kind of in this
in my bedroom, just
exile,
recording kind of every day. It was like changing the idea of what our purpose was or what our goal was.
Right.
Were we going to do a concept album? Was it nothing? And it got to the point where, I mean, those songs were just building up, and we weren't doing anything with them.
We didn't do anything with them until like finally one day we were like, we got to get them out and just start new, start fresh.
Josh took me to a bar and he was like, listen,
bro,
we got it. Like, we got to put this out.
This has to end.
It's sitting in a vacuum. Nobody's ever going to hear this. I need it to be out there for my sanity.
And it was 19 songs over the course of 4 years.
Yeah.
And
part of when I said I can drop a track or 4 tracks or EP or something anytime I want, it's because I have so much shit sitting there that in my mind is 1 or 2 steps from release. Mm-hmm. But if you don't ever walk those steps, sometimes I say, fuck it. It sounds good enough. Just put it out. If it's been sitting there for 3-4 years and I like it,
do it, man.
Absolutely.
Do it. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there was a lot of growing pains in that time. You know, I was learning myself how to record and get in gear and really trying to dial in our workflow. And you hear that in some of those songs. Some of those songs are a little, you're kind of scratching your head like, what is this song? Where is this going? Is this a concept album? Is it what is this? You know? But I look back fondly on that music.
As somebody from an outsider perspective, because I wasn't with the band as Exile was going through it, it was just, it seemed like that was all like growing pains, like in trying to figure out what you guys were doing,
right?
You know?
Absolutely.
And like just getting your feet wet, doing it, getting your feet wet, keeping it going, keeping it alive, because you guys could have done nothing,
Right.
you know? But you did, and you did keep it going through those years of just moving and everything else. And now we're at 2020, almost 2023. So
Yeah.
probably be released 2023.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you
or
know,
20,
yep.
or
The-
maybe
the-
soon.
Oh yeah, no, this is dropping in December. We good.
Cool, yeah.
We're
So-
hanging on.
So yeah. I mean, we're almost 2023 now, so it's all fresh. I mean, I feel like this whole unit has been playing cohesively now for about a year now. I mean, pretty much. I think I've been with
Yeah,
the
when
group
did
for
you
about
come
a
on?
year and a half now.
I think
at
it's
this
like
point.
a year, July.
So,
yeah.
and
so
it's by
been-
far the freshest it's felt. I mean,
Absolutely.
by a large margin, the most free and you know, open it's been. I think
Productive.
productive.
Different
What-
too.
Different direction.
What are the most enjoyable? What's the most enjoyable thing for you guys about being in this band?
I think doing shows for me. Like, I love just getting up there and rocking out and doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have gotten to play a variety of places. I imagine you've done. It sounds like you're pretty rigorous. If you're doing 3 shows a month, that's besides doing actual touring,
Right.
Like a tour of like a run. That's a pretty rigorous live schedule.
Yeah.
How are you
Yeah,
able to get all those?
locally.
How are you able to get all those bookings without an agent and stuff? You know,
Yeah.
just
it's
all booking
DIY.
yourself.
We all do it ourselves. I mean, everybody.
That part's not as fun.
Yeah, that's always the bummer
That's
part.
heavily
It's always-
Josh
yeah.
leaning into his professional lawyer
and
side.
Alexander as well.
The business side of things, and I had a little bit of a music business background. I was a music publicist outside of LA for well over a year. I did a lot of music photography. I worked with Relics magazine. I've worked with big outlets, and I've been able to kind of like, I know it's a communication, you know, within the industry and stuff, and it's just working with people and kind of establishing yourself out there. I think for me, it's like just doing what I've always wanted to do. That's the best thing about it, is like I'm actually doing what I want to do. Like,
Hell
you
yeah.
know, like
It's like everything else in life. That's the shitty part that just allows this to exist.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
I'm just doing what I want to do, you know, and this is what I've always wanted to do. So that's the
Beautiful.
gold in it. Yeah.
Fuck, what was the question? So, like,
Just the
what
most
would you
enjoyable,
like to-
enjoyable thing about being in the band.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think simply just playing with other people. I don't know. I think we kind of take it for granted. Like, oh, we play with each other all the time. But there's a lot of musicians out there who just like are bedroom players, or like, you know, it's
Yeah.
totally different sort of thing. You know, playing with other people, especially live. Going
Yeah.
and everything, so.
The vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah. For me, I think it's just getting to do the process of creating music. You know, for when the pandemic hit and the shows were shut down, everything was kind of shut down, and we weren't writing much in the beginning. We were kind of in a weird in between phase of, you know, we had lost a drummer at that point. And everything was shut down, and what I missed most was just creating music, you know, just the, like, it's all I've done since I was 12, 13 years old, you know, and without it, it felt like I was missing a chunk of my leg or something, you know. I didn't know. So I think just the process of creating, you know, like my favorite parts are sitting there at the studio desk and just finding new sounds or something new, you know, and that chase. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like for me at least, like the actual process of creating is like this constant tension of love and hate. Like, you're really excited about it, you start a new song, you have this idea, and then, like, you know,
I just had an album idea like minutes before leaving here. I have so many ideas that just like fucking, oh yeah, that'd be an epic like 4-song project or something.
Right.
This is like hip hop, so it's like a little different than like assembling the band and like making songs about this. But
Right.
you know, just like, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like you know, parodies of a certain thing or something like that.
yeah, so many ideas, and I think like it's so easy to like do something 35% of the way and then just move on to the next one. Like, that's what my brain wants to do.
Yeah.
And like just like going through to completion, getting at that point where you're stuck and you don't want to do it anymore, and you're like, I'm done, I want to do something new, this is too hard now. and just keep pushing. Like, don't stop, with that song and get the project out. Like, that's the rewarding part. It's just struggle, but it's so rewarding at the end when you get to hear it back.
Have you guys had experiences, people just telling you that they like the music, saying that it was really meaningful to them?
Yes.
Oh, dude, talk about that.
You gotta talk about that.
Oh, wait,
who was that?
Did you know?
Dude,
Do you
I
know
was
about it?
rapt.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, recently we got a comment from a gentleman that is going through some tough times, and he mentioned that our song got him out of bed, and he was having some tough times, tough day, and it's funny because we all go through stuff when we're making the music. Life happens, things, we're not in a vacuum just creating music. We all have relationships and life and problems, and it's funny that while you're going through stuff, working it out through the music, somebody can then hear the music and it can help them work through something, because it's not the intended goal. It's not a prescription, for depression or something. Here's a pill of music, but it's funny that things can work out like that, and you can touch people in that way. But yeah, no, we had someone reach out, and I don't want to give away too much of his information, but it was very touching. Yeah,
that shit always kind of blows my mind. Actually, like I don't know. Like, I just feel like so like in it, when we're doing the music, or somehow like far away from it too when it's done, that like I guess you get so like into the writing process that you start to like focus on all of the nitty gritty, making it sound good, and like, oh, that note I need to hit that just a little different, or whatever it is, and like you start to just like get numb to like what the inspiration was in some sense as you're doing it,
right?
And like
you just hear it over and over,
yeah,
and it's
over
just
and over,
dude,
like
it's
1,000 times.
You don't even hear it,
and like it's crazy.
Yeah, you kind of like if you're like the mother bird who pushes the bird out the nest, and it's like, all right, like go, and then eventually it'll fly back to you, and you're like, what just happened?
Like that.
It'll come back, and that sort of like, it's like, get out of my face right now, because I just put all this energy into this, and it's like it's your baby, but it's like, man, like I got to get this out into the world too, like.
I found that my initial hour or so of having written a song or created something, that first creative drive that makes the song, and how exciting it is usually, or even how like underwhelming it is and thinking something's wrong with it, that first hour or so is usually a very poor assessment of like ultimately what I end up thinking of that song, or ultimately what that song is received.
Yeah,
because just the creative energy of it, like literally just creating it, usually you get like kind of a rush, and like sometimes I'll think it's like I'm really onto something, and later I'm like, that was ass,
Dude,
but I
so
felt
true.
it in the moment.
yeah, it's like falling in love,
dude.
Sometimes you just like that, you get into it, you look back, what was I thinking?
What the fuck?
Or
And then for me too,
fondly.
lyrics, for example, maybe we could talk a little bit about that. In hip hop, for me, it's like sometimes
Bitches
like
money.
the most.
Sorry.
No, fine, I don't care. I'll edit it out. You talk too quiet anyway. I'm gonna have a hard time getting you to be heard. That's okay. We'll figure it out. In my head, I'm literally thinking of it. I'm like, I'm gonna break this mic into 2 tracks, and then I'm gonna turn him down, turn him up. So anyway,
Sorry, guys.
So no, it's good. We're good. It's his fault. Hip hop and lyrics and realizing, because like, okay, if I'm trying to make a song that people will understand what I'm talking about, and there's a story and the verses continue on in some way, usually I'm not going to be the most lyrically dense. I'm going to be more straightforward. Like if I was rapping about Josh, here I am going in the street. That was bad.
Do it,
but
bro.
Like, I was in my head, I'm trying to think of a rhyme for Josh, but like, okay, let me try to do a rap now about interviewing you guys, right? It's not going to be lyrically
Very
cool at all.
yeah.
Okay, So I host a podcast and I work with Alex. One day I was like, I got an interview with his band and I don't know why I did it, but it don't rhyme and it's just authentic. But if I tell a story, then it's going to be specific to the shit going on, and it isn't that legitimate.
Hey.
When y'all not with it, then we keeping it, we killing it. God damn, and we spitting it and thrilling them with this shit. Oh no, you don't think it's so explicit? We're like family episode. No, we say shit. No, we do all the shit and it ain't basic. But anyway,
Yeah.
I will create shit that is
Yes.
no. I think the point I was trying to get at is like when you're trying to like, because there's like abstractions that are beautiful, words that come together and don't mean anything, and there's also like words that are intended to mean something and like tell you the story of us having this interview, which was ostensibly what I tried to do just now.
Right.
Often I'll think that was too basic and stupid, and then weeks later I'm like, oh no, that wasn't basic and stupid.
Dude,
it
I
actually just cut to the point of what was needed.
Absolutely know what you mean.
So-
I feel like I dance around that thing all the time. That concept of like, am I too on the nose? Am I
Right.
too like direct? Like, I don't want to be like, too like. I feel like that's cheesy somehow. Right? And so again, like going back to like the escapism and like the metaphors and like, sometimes you can like hide behind lyrics
Right.
instead of being your authentic self, you know?
Right.
And I think that's like a big thing that we've taken a step in the direction of like just being clear about
Right.
what you're feeling in this new stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little embarrassed because a lot of that was ass, especially the first attempt, because I just couldn't think of a
great,
rhyme for Josh, and then I couldn't
It
think of a
was
rhyme for
good.
Alex. So it was really, I don't know why I started with, those are really hard words to rhyme. This has been really fun, you guys. I do have a question that I tend to ask people at the end of the show as well. You don't know about this. And the show's called Broken Class, and it's like loosely education themed, but it's about individual brokenness and individual and things being broken in society and whether or not they can be repaired. This is like really, I don't fucking know. I'm really bad at explaining my own show on my show. That's why my audience.
No, I got
I
it.
love it.
Yeah,
Dude.
no,
It's great.
that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm broken, but that made sense to me.
Yeah, what's something that's broken in society, and what is some part of a solution for it? And it could be anything, right? So it's like the first question was really broad, and this question's really broad. And I'd love to hear from each of you guys. And it's been really fun interviewing or
Yeah.
discussing with you guys.
Yeah, man, I'd love to do it again sometime.
This is great.
I go on for forever. One off the top of my head is division. People we're too divided in this world. I think that seeps into a lot of different social and economical, different issues, and that's kind of a vague answer. But I think a lot of it comes down to not hearing other people and not, or not wanting to, or just wanting to hear yourself, or whatever, anything, political, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Nutritional, whatever it is. I think, just a good, I don't know how to solve the world, but a good place to start is just, listening a little extra to the people around you, hearing them, if they're, understanding them, really hearing them is what I mean, not just listen. But that's one thing. So knock that off the bat. Serious Matt, out.
I think it goes like.
I like that.
That's great, man.
We can
Yeah.
talk about that more too, because I feel like part of the. I think about this shit constantly, right?
Yeah.
Constantly think about how can we actually unite instead of like just talking about it, or what are really the reasons why we've divided ourselves more. I think we are like, so every one of us uses social media, right? Social media isn't the whole problem, and I don't mean to be too reductive, but we are then essentially being trained to just constantly be evaluating things quickly at a mass level and on the
Yeah.
most instinctive level, and I think that's really played into just how we judge each other more.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
my point was going to be like literally exactly the same, just phrased slightly different, which is like people believe things too much. Like belief is the problem. Like when you approach something, like why do you have to believe it so much? Just be open to the other person's side, be open to receiving what they say, and like don't criticize, don't jump down somebody's throat, don't come with a preconception of what you think the right answer is. And like I think whether that's political or whether it's with music, shows, whatever it is, it's like, okay, maybe there's a few fundamental things that you can come to the table with. But like other than that, you're, just like approaching it with like just humility, I guess,
The phrase I was going to use is called epistemic humility.
Yes, dude.
Epistemology being how we know what we know.
Beautiful.
We don't
I
know
love
that it's true.
Yep.
I should have epistemic humility about the fact that the guitar that's off screen is blue. I don't know that that's blue.
Absolutely, dude.
I just believe
Absolutely.
it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I love it.
It's funny because it's like I have this idea and then I have this idea and then like both of you guys took it. Okay, so I guess my third on the list. I don't know, social inequality. I think wealth inequality is probably a huge one. I don't know. It's just like it's weird to me that like someone can work like full time and just not even afford like a 1-bedroom, just like like bare minimum stuff. You know what I mean? So, kind of a luxury that maybe existed before. You know, the cost of college and is a huge one. Education, just I don't know. I think that's a big one.
There's all these
as far as like I mean, there's everything just like kind of melds in with each other. But solution, I don't know.
There's a reason why it's called late capitalism, right? It's it's like this time that we're in now. We all just happen to live now in this point in time where like we're seeing a system that has just increasingly just been designed to squeeze money out of us at every single point of our lives, at every kind of interaction, and it's just so everyone's so strapped, you know. And so when you say that, you know, the response to that could be, you can't afford to live in that 1-bedroom. Move somewhere where it's cheaper. Go somewhere where it's cheaper.
Stupid, right?
Which is generally places where rent is higher, where it's more urban. You move cheaper where it's less desirable to live, typically, or just rural, because it can also be very desirable to live in rural places too in many cases. There's not a job market there that can sustain enough people to really live there. So really, it's just everything's going upward into this.
I will say,
increasingly small.
For potential solutions, I think that
High
speed rail is a really thing. If we invested in that, like I was thinking, imagine if you could make a Portland salary and live in Eugene because it's 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's I didn't even think about that.
Right?
That could be awesome.
And spread the money all around.
Created their high-speed rail in the 70s.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Stuff like that.
This is why you're the citizen leader here, man.
It would be awesome.
That's
I agree.
Right there. And you know, with the financial inequality and economic inequality, you know, I feel like people are almost getting a very small dose of they're getting a very small peek into the life that some cultures and some communities have lived with for a lot longer than is new to some people, you know. And I think there's certain classes of people and certain races of people that have been dealing with these issues for a long time, and now these issues are kind of hitting the front door of a lot of America. And it is interesting to see how everyone is affected in different ways by it, you know, and the scatter to kind of pick up the pieces of what's going on right now as we try to grow with a system that's ever changing.
For a while, I wanted to write a book because I was really lucky, right? I grew up pretty low income and stuff, and when I got a scholarship from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to go to any college I wanted, and I went to this school. It was like a small private liberal arts college, and you know, everybody was rich. Like, you know, that's the quickest way to say it because I don't need to make a huge tangent about it. But like half the school was on no financial aid, where that's like $64,000 a year their parents are paying per child that they have per year. So, and now it's up to close to 68 or 69, 70. And so that's when I started being able to feel like, oh yeah, so I am poor. Here I'm poor. Here I don't want to say it because like I know that I have privilege, you know, against a lot of people that do live around here. And my point with that was about what were you just talking about, Matt? I'm sorry.
Different cultures, races, communities that have been dealing with this issue for
That's exactly right. Thank you. Because I came out of that school, and it was also a very progressive school. So I felt very much like when I graduated in 2017, I had a lot of access to information about like engaging with social justice topics. Then I moved back here, and a lot of people don't have that, and they want to be part of the conversation, but they feel like they don't know what to say. And I thought about writing a book. I really wanted to. That was basically like it would have been called at the time "Social Jargon Warriors," and it would have been just like a
great name,
like a kind of a glossary of these terms and how this term kind of seems to have arisen and what it means. All just to say, because you're right, people in these marginalized communities and people all over dealing with these issues, so they have a developed language and a lexicon, and when we're all speaking different languages, not literally, and that is true too, but when we're all speaking with conversations that are so separate from one another, I just want to see how we can like try to have more of that together and understand each other a little bit more.
I mean that has to be a goal, you know. I think that's a great thing about music as well.
I think that that sort of piggyback. Or I can sort of piggyback off of that for my topic. I think it was sort of like awareness or self-awareness. is sort of an issue, and that I think our society is lacking. And that really just comes down to really developing that over time, and being self-aware with other people, your coworkers, whether it's like your spouse or something like that, just being aware of like your actions and like just being in the moment too, like just really like enjoying and being present in the moment and everything. Like all of these other like little things that we like talk about like will really subside in some ways, if we're really just fully present,
right? Because like if you can
and
be
here for people,
if
too.
you're like self-aware, then you can recognize when you are really like holding on to a strong belief, and you can question that and say,
exactly,
why do I really think that guitar is blue?
It starts with, I think it does start with the individual,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, and so if you build, in a society that has that is like an objective, like awareness, like that's something that that society is going to find success, I think.
It's funny because you brought up the guitar being blue, and I think that epistemic humility to me extends. It's a little bit corny and almost cliche to say you don't know what people's intentions are, so don't try to think about that so much. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, because you actually don't know what people's intentions are
right.
A lot of the time, right? And the impact of their action is also very important, of course, not just what they intended. But I think about my epistemic humility with my girlfriend and I when we're talking. I can only know certain things, right? That's a classic man-woman dynamic, right? Even though I identify as non-binary, but I'm like kind of mostly like masculine, right? And that's like a typical like, oh, you never know what she's thinking or whatever, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is she knows me really well. We've been dating for 2 years, but sometimes I'm just tired and sometimes my back hurts. So when we go out to a meal, the exact same way I would phrase something like, this is really good, she's like, oh, you hate it.
Right.
I was like, no, honey, my back just hurts, and I'm just like,
True.
they raised the price or something like that, but I actually really do like it.
Yes.
So even though someone who knows me that well would think totally the opposite of what I said, and you just don't you just don't know.
Well, it's so funny that we've wound up here, because it's like that phrase epistemic humility is so good, and I think like I've had this image in my head when I write lyrics over the last 4 singles, and it's kind of this idea of like this, I don't know, like knowledge being this well, I compare it to, and like you're diving down, and like the more you go under the water to get to this place of where like you kind of say like, I don't really know anything, I don't really know what your intent is, I don't really know even simple basic things, like you start having this feeling where it's hard to communicate a lot of things, and it's hard to actually say anything besides, I think, acting and like being the thing that you want others to see, and just living the life, and not like telling other people or saying like, oh, it is this or it's that. It's just like, just do it, but it makes like communication hard, like, because we're programmed in a way to like react and but I think having that tool is
I read
really,
something,
really cool.
and I'm not going to try to quote it because it was so long ago, but it was like 5 points. It was one of these self-help things, how to live a life and whatever. And one of them was stop taking things so personally. And
it was Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 agreements.
I think that was it.
Yeah. Don't take anything personally.
And that specific one really stuck with me. And I found myself even at work, when I would want to, tear off on somebody and really, rip them a new one or something for, I felt disrespected or this or that or whatever. I really was taking a second and being like, I don't know what happened to them this morning. I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't know who's sick in their family. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they're bringing me this negative energy, but I'm not going to fire it back at them because it could just be a reaction they're having. They're going through something,
Totally.
And I always try to take that, I don't all the time, but I really do try to take that extra second and be like, all right, don't take it personal.
That's huge. And that goes back to self-awareness, right? Recognizing, like understanding, having that minute to pause before you react.
Right.
We have so much power to influence each other with energy and stuff. It goes back to music. I lived in New York for a year and got to play guitar on the subways and I'd mostly do Weezer covers. Really cool thing about the subway, I would play on the platform. Only had to know about 4 songs because they're constantly the trains come in every 5, 7, 9 minutes, and so I just repeat. No one hears me playing the same song every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I actually
That's
just
awesome.
like one of the truly, like we talked about moments that are enjoyable making music. I got a whole train car to applaud once I played The Good Life by Weezer off Pinkerton.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just one of those things where it started out and like that was the second song I played. And like from a dead train car to just me playing that one song, everybody applauded and people smiled. And in New York, if you've ever lived there,
Oh, dude. I've never lived there, but it just
Yeah.
I
We
know
grew
what
up
you
right
mean.
on the border. Yeah.
it's not easy to impress people like with performances. They're used to everything happening. And I'm not saying I did an amazing job, but it just happened to be I was in the right train car. There was enough young people there, you know, whatever. But if I had walked into the next train car over and done the exact same thing, probably would have just been everybody just, don't even look up from their phone or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
That's a crazy experiment.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because
Yeah.
the energy of different rooms. You guys know that when you're performing.
Well, that was like one
Absolutely.
thing that like always. Maybe this is just like a East Coast West Coast dynamic, but when these guys came here, they were always talking about like, man, I don't know if they're gonna like this or like just like, and me like living here, I'm like, dude, of course they're gonna like it,
Dude,
You know
we
what
were
I mean?
so dancing
Like
around.
I know.
Wow.
It's just like and so
Hesitant.
Yeah, just
After our
scared.
first show, we played here in town at Old Nick's, long time ago now.
Yeah.
You know, afterwards, the band that we had that had opened before us was coming up to us out in the parking lot, and my immediate reaction coming from the East Coast was like, "Oh no, what'd we do?
Oh no.
You know, how did we step on their toes? Did we
Right.
take their
Yeah.
set spot? Did we
Play
have
a little
people-
too long?
People are
Did we
really
play too
nice,
long?
you know.
And what they were coming over to say was like, "That was an amazing set. Smoke this joint. You guys are great. You know, welcome to the scene." And we were
Yeah.
kind of like, "Whoa, all right,
Totally
okay."
different in New
You know,
Jersey.
Totally
It's
different,
less
yeah.
of a struggle to kind of get the attention. It felt like a little bit out here, you know, because that's a real thing, like you were saying, just to get that attention from people on the subway, to break them out of their daily grind of their A to B that's impressive.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely.
It used to blow my mind the quality of performance I would see that were completely not phasing most of the people on the buses, and sometimes people give $1 or
Right.
something, but most people not. And then I realized after living there for a few months, especially needing to get to my job every day at a school, oh yeah, this is my commute. This is like people in their car mode,
Right,
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
and so if you really live there and you've lived there for 20 years, like. I mean, yeah, we're all human beings. You can be affected by an especially beautiful performance. Or people dance in the subways a lot. They climb up on to the top
Right.
and like do some really crazy like parkour inside the subways.
Yeah.
That would piss you off if you were just trying to get to your daughter's soccer game
Right.
or something.
You got a pair of ballet shoes flying in your face. You know, you're trying to drink your coffee.
Yeah,
And you know, I think that for New York is specifically like one of the beauties of New York. You know, is the ecosystem of art and culture and business and, you know, the hustle bustle, man.
Right.
The game that everybody's in, and everyone just kind of coexists. You know, it's a beautiful thing out there.
I gotta. Oh gosh, thinking of so many things. Yeah, because like it's also a great environment for swindling.
Oh,
I had somebody who seemed
absolutely.
I had somebody a woman who came up to me and you know was just like looked like she was trying to like needed help or something and like wanted a hug, and I gave her a hug and thought this was a really special moment. It's like
No.
there's more to this expectation, and I was just so naive.
Oh
You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that sex workers are doing anything wrong. I just was like, oh, I'm such a silly. Like in Oregon, because I went to a show last night at Blair Alley and met
Nice.
some like hippie girls who just you just hug right
Yeah,
away,
right.
and you would never do that in New York. You know what I mean?
Oh,
You know, You're hugging no one you just
Dude.
met.
Oh, coming back and
Seriously.
forth from the West Coast to the East Coast, so funny. I like smiling at people walking around the New York streets, and there literally one person said, "What is so
The fuck
funny?"
is your problem?
Like literally, I literally had
so
somebody,
Right,
yeah,
right.
and I was like, "Wow, okay, that's right." You
Yeah.
don't
Neither
just
is better than the other, and
stare and
that's
Blinders,
smile at people
blinders.
here.
it's just different. And you
Yeah,
can live
yeah.
there if you want to have that experience.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something.
Because East Coast people I know, and I would actually say people of color often like they come here and they're weirded out by how friendly everybody is.
Oh,
you
my
know,
God,
but not just people of
absolutely.
color, everybody.
Culture
Yeah.
shock.
Yeah.
Culture shock is is a real
Ooh,
thing.
yeah,
You
big time.
know,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's been really fun hanging with y'all.
Super
And
fun.
Thanks so much for having us,
I
man.
went from
Yeah.
a legitimate fan to you guys to like I hope a friend of the band.
Oh,
And
you're,
y'all
you're
are
one of the
friends of the
boys.
show.
You're one of us, absolutely,
Sweet,
right now, yeah.
sweet. And thank you all for checking this out. I think one cool thing I want to figure out how to like say something at the end of all these shows now, especially because I only have had the show called Broken Class for like 10 episodes or maybe like 15. Before it was called Less Stupid with Thomas Huda, but it was I felt it was limiting my. It was just too abrasive. It was people were like making an assumption about the show before they listen. And so with Broken Class, thank you for being here, fixing society in one podcast. That's what you just did. Thanks for fixing the world
Thanks for having us, man.
in one pod.
Great.
Love
Thanks.
yourself.
Love it.
Love each other. Be good.
Listen to Alamance.
Stay cool.
There you go.
Peace.